Hello my friends, welcome to another episode of Path of Exile. My name is Wilfred. So in this episode, I'm going to share with you my experience so far playing the Necromancer in this Path of Exile game, free to play by the way. And I've leveled up to around about 50 odd, and it's been a really fun journey so far. I've taken a different approach from what I've done in the past. So this video is really for those, some of you who may be interested in playing, may have heard it, may have tried it in the past, but didn't quite like it for various kind of reasons. Maybe the game is a little bit too complex, and maybe a lot of research required, and you're not comfortable in going through the kind of like phase that a lot of us are going through, experimenting what works, what doesn't, or like me in the past, whereby you just copy some builds, trade for the items, and things become a little bit too straightforward without a sense of accomplishment because it's just copying other people's build. I get it. I've been through that journey as well. So in this episode, I'd like to share with you my experience so far in a slightly different approach than what how I approached in the past leagues, and I hope that may inspire some of you to also try this game again and find a build that may work for you. All right, now. Just a little bit of shout out to all my friends in the Path of Exile community. I mean, you guys are fantastic. The kind of support that you have both on Steam as well as in-game is phenomenal. I mean, I play a lot of ARPG. A lot of time it's just me and my wife, all my friends play. But Path of Exile is something that my wife just doesn't play at all. She finds it a little bit too gruesome. And some of my friends tried it because they are from the Diablo 3 kind of like mindset. They find it a little bit hard to pick up as well, which I can't understand. So I ended up playing this game just alone most of the time. And some of you may group up with me in the past as well in Path of Exile. It's a little bit hard because I'm from Singapore, and the if I play within my gateway, the latency is pretty alright. Very low latency, very good to play. But if I play with some of you who are from America, the latency was really bad for whatever reason. So a lot of time I just lag out, couldn't quite contribute at all. So just maybe this game is not that multiplayer friendly. Maybe this game is really built towards a solo player kind of perspective, or if you are from the same countries or region, things may work out. But once you cross country or cross region, it's getting a little bit hard to play, and everything happens so fast in a Path of Exile that that latency could really kill the entire experience. So yeah, now I've started playing this game a couple of years ago after I've I played Marvel Heroes mostly in the past, and back in the Marvel Heroes days, a lot of you encouraged me to pick up Path of Exile, which I did for a while. And so I've been using builds of others, copy Matthew's build like many people do, I understand. And it works wonderfully because you just need to make sure that you get all the points being allocated, like all these like YouTubers, and you copy the exact same gear, trade for it. Easy to start build is not that expensive to get. A couple of Chaos Orb can get you the whole set, whereby you could do pretty decent stuff as a lead starter. So I've been to that path before, and I stopped for around 2 years. In between there are many games that I play as well. Somehow Path of Exile is a game whereby when you're in it, you're really in it, but when you're out of it, it's sort of like kind of lazy to go back in again. But the interesting thing is that once I go back to Path of Exile, it just hooked me up again. It's just one of those things that you play many other games, like recently I played Wilson, and then you kind of like, well, something is missing in the whole game design, and sort of like there's certain urge to just reinstall Path of Exile again and try out, and man, I mean everything works so fine. Now granted, this game has been around for a while, for ages, and I always compare a game whereby what I have today compared to what another game offer. Now in the future, Wilson may be wonderful, it may be fantastic, and may be one of the best ARPG out there, but as of now, I play what I have, right? So I went back to Path of Exile, everything came back to me. Now there are many things I don't quite remember, but once you start playing it, it's like, okay, I get it. And it's one of those games whereby you get better and better, league after league, and after you kind of know some mechanic, what you can skip, what kind of quest you do. Yeah, I mean, it does take you further and further, so it's one thing that I really like. So this league, I roll a witch, and I've always been fascinated by witch class. Regardless of any ARPG I play, I always play a caster or mage, kind of magic setup. I kind of like it a lot. So I pick up a witch, very much like the very first character I played when I played Path of Exile a couple of years ago. So I've got a few choices when it comes to mage and the witch. I wanted to play Essence Drain, ED, which I remember I had a lot of fun with it. I really want to relive that fond memory. But I also have some unfinished business with Path of Exile because I always been fascinated by the game design when it comes to Summoner. And this season or this league, I picked up the Necromancer as the Ascendancy class to try out how the Path of Exile does the Summoner build. Now, every other games I play, like back in the Marvel Heroes, I really like the Summoner kind of build, Rocket Raccoon, Magic, even Nick Fury, or even like Luke Cage. I try to build a Summoner around it. I always been fascinated by how a game is being designed around the Summoner, which I think is really hard because on one hand, the pets are doing their own thing and kill their own thing, but you want the player to be actively managing some of this mechanic as well. Like for example, Diablo 3 has done a really good job when it comes to the Necromancer, in my opinion. The most powerful kind of like pet is the Skeleton Mage, which require a lot of micromanagement, but it is kind of the effort that pays off when it comes to playing the Summoner. When I played Green Dawn, I picked up the Necromancer Oculist, that is Cabalist. There's a tons of pets around. The way you gear, again, it plays a really kind of like interesting aspect of the game whereby you don't really see it from other perspective. And in a lot of games, Summoner build usually are the more complicated one to play, which I think from a game design perspective also a little bit complicated as well. So for the witch, when I started playing the Summoner, I tried many dams. So for example, I started with Zombie, which you need a corpse to raise a zombie, and then I tried out like a Skeleton, which is a little bit like the Diablo 3 Skeleton Mage, whereby in Path of Exile the skeletons are melee, summoned at the spots that you point it to, and it lasts for a couple of seconds before they despawn. And there is also a Raging Skull as well, which in the initial part of the video you've seen it. Later on I dropped that for a good reason. Allow me to tell you later on. But that is a really like a homing missile kind of thing. It's also very short-lived, a couple of seconds, but it kind of does its job. So it's kind of nice. Yeah, I tried Golem as well, and Spectre as well. Spectre is nothing but reanimated an enemy that you slain. So the Spectre does what the enemy does in a stronger kind of version. And I initially I have quite a lot of like pets running around. Wanted to build like really a lot of pets, kind of like full screen kind of thing. But I kind of took my advice from one of my friends, Yoshi in YouTube, who tell me that who reminded me that in Path of Exile sometimes you really have to specialize into that one or two skills and to build your whole build around it. It kind of makes sense. So in the end, I picked up Zombie, and I'll share with you how I set up Zombie in a couple of moments time. And before that, I would like to also give a shout out to my friend Sword Sun, who has gifted me the Tabula Rasa. It's a 6-link kind of chest item. Very wonderful when it comes to kind of build kind of experimentation, because you can put in different dams and linked up and see whether it works or not. So I really enjoy having that. There's too many of you to even mention as well. So yeah, thanks for all your donation. Now, the approach that I used to have done in the past, like I said before, is really to copy a build from one of the YouTubers. But this time around, I've done the things a little bit differently. What I've done is that, yes, I researched on the passive tree, one that is useful for the Summoner. And there are many variations to it, well, at least the mainstream of it. So I picked up one of these trees and I stuck by it. So that become like my, invariants. I built my character around the passive that I have chosen. But when it comes to the actual build itself, I reference to multiple kind of like sources because I want to see what works, what doesn't. And I believe like everyone choose their, kind of like a gem with a certain mindset. And I think most importantly for me in this league is to experiment, to try what works and what doesn't. And I think I strongly urge, some of you who are interested in this game, but a little bit like overwhelmed by the whole thing. I mean, do a little bit of research, no doubt, but in the end, feel free to pick up different gem set and see what works, what doesn't. Now, ideally the character shouldn't die, because otherwise in the higher kind of difficulties you lose XP. My character did die a couple of times before I hit Act 5, which there's no XP penalty, but it kind of teaches me a couple of things whereby what works and what doesn't. And in fact, I think the way I look into Path of Exile is very much like a sandbox, whereby you try out different build and then you see what works, and sometimes it'll punish you pretty brutally if your build not up to par, when it's like not enough DPS or not enough defense and so on. So yeah, that is a part 1 of the video that I'd like to just talk about my journey so far, and the part 2 of the video is going to talk about the specific build that I have chosen. Okay, welcome back, and the reason why I need to break this video into two parts is that I'm a little bit under the weather, and I find it a little bit hard to talk non-stop for 20 minutes, so I need to pause for after 10 minutes and take some water and continue talking. Alright, I hope you don't mind. Now, with the tabula rasa that Swordson has gifted to me, I managed to link up a few things, and let me share with you what I've linked up. And for the veterans, feel free to critique as well and let me know whether it's something that I should have done or something that I should do in a better way. I've choose a race zombie, which is a blue gem, as the main, and I linked it up with the minion damage support, which is also a blue gem, with the melee physical support, which is a red gem that converts some of the damage into physical, and so on and so forth. I've got multi-strike as well, which is a red gem, a little bit AoE for that. I've got impel as well. I reckon impel kind of work better with my dread banner that I will talk on just a bit. So I've got impel, which is a green gem, and I kind of like run out of like gem to put it with the zombie. So there are a couple of choices there. I could do a minion speed or so and so forth. In the end, I do fortify. So you see a little bit of fortify that on the screen itself. The zombie underneath the zombie, they are fortified, and that is from the gem itself. So just to repeat, I've got zombie, minion damage, melee feast, multi-strike, impel, and fortified. That makes a 6 link, and the zombie so far seems rather durable and tanky, which is nice. Okay, so now zombie is my main power. I really want to use a skeleton with pride, but I don't have a 4 link yet, because I believe what pride does is to apply a debuff against enemy, and that work quite well with my zombies. So I only have 3 kind of like blue links. So I've got flame dash. I've got the skeleton, which is raised skeleton. I've got the minion damage as well, minion speed. So all 3 blue gems. But like I said, I mean, once I get a 4 link, I will try to get a blue red perhaps, and put a pride against it so that it would debuff the enemies. So that is work in progress. I've also picked up the golem as well, the carrion. Now I have no preference actually. I think some of the build guides out there use a stone golem, but I thought about it, and I haven't tried a carrion yet, and I look at the description, it sounds pretty cool. So I sort of like pair it up with the feeding fancy support. Now I don't know whether Fancy does anything to my main character or not, probably not, but I think what I like about it is that it makes the carrion more aggressive from the tooltip. So I'm hoping to have the carrion tanking stuff for me, and I jam it up with the increased duration of the Fancy, which probably is not the right thing to do. I'm not quite sure, but I'm just trying it out. If you guys got tips for me, welcome to drop me a note below. And like I said, I mean, I got Dread Banner, which is to buff the somehow interact with the Impel kind of mechanism with the generosity support that the Impel kind of buff doesn't really affect me, which is fine. I don't do any attack, my pet does. But what I kind of struggle to understand is how the Dread Banner work, because you're supposed to carry a banner whereby your pets around you will get kind of like buff, and enemy around you get debuff. But at some point you need to put down the banner, which I haven't really figured out. When do I pick it up? When do I drop it? Kind of thing. So again, all of you veteran, if you have tips for me, let me know. Or I should just carry a banner, ignoring the whole mechanic of dropping the banner to further buff the pets. I don't know. I mean, you guys let me know there. Now I've got the Flame Dash linked up with Convocation as well as Flesh and Stone, and it's kind of a good pair up as well, because what it does is that when I do Flame Dash, and I dash quite often, it recall the pet to my location, which is fine because I usually run ahead of my pets. But they also give a small life regen to my pets as well. They keep the pets kind of alive, which is fine because zombie, when they die, I need corpse to raise them. I also use a Flesh and Stone. Now Flesh and Stone is a red gem that does two stands. One is Blood Stance, another one is Sand Stance. So I believe the Blood Stance will debuff the enemies, while the Sand Stance will mitigate damage for me. So that's what it does. Whether I really pay attention to am I on sand or am I on blood, I don't really know, because things happen so fast in Path of Exile. But I guess all in all, it does the two mechanic and seems quite nice to pair up with the Flame Dash. And one click, I got three things that happens. I regenerate the life of my pet, I pull the pack to my location, and I do a bit of blood and sand kind of thing. Wonderful. I've got the last but not the least, I've got a couple of loose gems around. I've got Desecrate as a gem to raise some like corpse, because if I need to raise some zombie at the beginning of the zone, I can do that. But by right, I think I should use Cyclone with the Desecrate with one of the supporting gem to prot something, I think, and use the Offering against that falling setup. But I'm not quite there yet. Still work in progress. I think it's pretty cool because as you do Cyclone, you trigger the Desecrate, you trigger the Offering, automatically buff all the pets. It's very clever design. But again, don't have the gear yet. One day I will. I've got this Spirit Offering. I know some of you asked me to use the Flesh Offering. I've seen some build out there use Bone Offering. I use Spirit Offering. I think at the end of the day, it really boils down to what I'm missing in my gear, maybe. I don't know. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to it. Some like one of them, I think just pick one and stick with it. But all in all, I think it's good to use a corpse to buff the pet. And if you got the ascendancy points in the future, you could buff yourself too. I believe I read it somewhere. Not quite there yet, like I said. Then the last thing I've done is the Purity of Elements. Do I need it? I probably don't need it per se. But I'm always a bit worried about resistance in this game, because I always struggle quite a fair bit with capping the resistance, and perhaps the Clarity of Elements would help. But yeah, I mean, this is my setup so far. What do you guys think? Do you think I've got a good setup? Let me know in the comments box below. I also have an option of Val skeleton as well. Try that, pretty cool. I mean, it summoned a whole bunch of skeletons on the screen. But I heard that there's a pretty bad nerf against it, which kind of like make it a little bit less effective. And I do feel that it's not that effective in a way that in the end I've tried it, have fun with it, didn't use it anymore. So yeah, I mean that is really by and large how I approach the game so far, having fun. I'm sure with the gear that I collect, gear that I may need to trade, I'll find out some other interesting build somehow. Now this is the last clip against the Kitava. I remember I played once, but I sort of like I've forgotten what I needed to do, so I was quite, well, at least it was quite epic for me. And I always find that all these like boss mechanic is really interesting. And the and the fact that my character can withstand some of these mistakes that I've made. That's pretty amazing too. So yeah, I mean it's fun. Compared to other games like Wilson, I think the boss fight in Path of Exile is pretty impressive. Different kind of stages to it and so on. This particular fight, I don't think I'm supposed to win this, but I'm supposed to just survive the whole ordeal of it. And I mean that's about it. Having fun with my Necromancer. A lot of people ask me, how am I doing? Yes, I'm still trying my best. If I can go further, I can do further. My goal will still remain the same in this league, which is to complete all the stories, which I have yet to see. I think the last boss I did before I sort of like stopped playing, I can't remember why I stopped playing Path of Exile, was the boss about the mirrors. I think it get a little bit hard in the end. So I defeated the boss, but I sort of like stopped after that. But yeah, I mean, look, that was the history. This is where I am right now, and I think I may want to go far with this one. I really hope that the summoner build can take me somewhere far as well. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. It's meant to be just like an audio kind of thing, like a podcast kind of like a setup, and just get in touch with you all. And thank you for all your support. I hope you enjoy the Delirium League series that I'm creating for you guys. I'll talk to you again soon. Goodbye.